Okay, ready to dive into a world where someone's always listening.
Always.
It's 1984.
Yeah, George Orwell's classic.
You've given me so much to dig into here. The book itself, obviously, but also like historical analysis, even some linguistic stuff about newspeak.
It's a book that has resonated for decades, and for good reason, I think. It's not just some dystopian story. I mean, it forces us to look at our anxieties, you know? Yeah. Surveillance, manipulation, how fragile truth really is.
Orwell doesn't ease you in either.
No, not at all.
Page 1, you're right there in Oceania, this bleak, gray world. Winston, our main guy, just trying to make it up the stairs to his apartment.
In Victory Mansion.
Which, let's be real, doesn't exactly scream victory, does it?
Not quite.
But he's already being watched.
Oh, absolutely. Those posters are everywhere. Big Brother, that face, and the tagline, Big Brother is watching you, chilling. But it's more than just posters, right? Orwell takes it a step further with the telescreens.
Oh gosh, the telescreens. Two-way.
Yeah.
They're watching you, listening to you all the time.
Every word, every move, even your expression could betray you.
I'd be a wreck. I could not handle that kind of pressure. No way.
It's the ultimate tool of control, to live with that constant awareness that someone is always watching. And then you add in the ministries, these huge, imposing buildings.
Talk about intimidating. The Ministry of Truth always gets to me. Minitru, as they call it. This massive white pyramid pumping out propaganda.
It's a perfect example of Orwell's use of doublespeak, because, of course, the Ministry of Truth is anything but.
Right, it's where history is rewritten, twisted, reshaped to fit the party's narrative.
And ironically, that's where Winston works. Our protagonist, stuck in the system, editing old records so they align with the current truth, or whatever the party decides is the truth.
Talk about soul-crushing. To be a part of that machine. And then there's a Ministry of Love?
Minilove.
I get chills just saying it.
Orwell describes it as this imposing structure, windowless, heavily guarded. This is where thought crime is dealt with. The very act of thinking against the party. And let's just say they don't mess around.
It's horrifying to think about people being punished for their thoughts.
Yeah.
But the way he uses these names, Ministry of Love, it's like he's showing us how language itself can be a weapon.
Absolutely. It's insidious. And
Yeah.
that manipulation seeps into everything in Oceania. Even the simplest pleasures are controlled, rationed out. Winston's always hungry, his building's falling apart at the seams.
And the party brags about increasing the chocolate ration back to 20 grams.
From 30, no less.
Like, who are they kidding?
It's all about keeping the population distracted, desperate.
And then there's the victory gin.
Ugh, that awful sounding stuff.
It's like they're trying to numb them with this oily, terrible sounding gin.
Every detail adds to the atmosphere of oppression.
It's all about control. Keeping people too afraid to even think about stepping out of line.
Exactly. And then you've got the thought police. This ever-present threat that they can see into your mind, arrest you for a thought.
And it's not even acting on it, just thinking it.
Thought crime. It's the ultimate deterrent. Because if you can't even think freely, how can you rebel?
Winston just writing down with Big Brother in that little diary of his, that's a huge act of defiance.
Oh, completely.
And those memory holes. Just the image of him dropping evidence down that chute, like erasing history.
Control the past, control the future. It's terrifyingly effective.
Speaking of controlling the future, what about newspeak? It's not just a simplified language. It's designed to limit what people can even think about.
It's linguistic engineering at its most insidious.
Syme, the linguist, Winston knows. He almost seems to relish it. We're destroying word scores of them, hundreds of them, every day. Like, it's a good thing.
It's the arrogance of believing you can control language, control thought itself. And what's chilling is Syme's prediction that he, a loyal party member working on Newspeak, will be vaporized.
He's too smart. He sees too much.
Precisely. And he knows it.
But there's one group Winston seems to hold some hope for. The proles.
The working class.
Yeah.
The masses.
They seem less affected by the party's propaganda. More human, somehow.
There's a rawness to their emotions, a vitality.
That scene where he sees the prole women rioting over saucepans,
They just erupt.
and for a moment, he sees their potential.
But the party dismisses them as animals, incapable of organized thought.
Which is exactly what they want everyone to believe, right?
Of course. Keep the masses divided and they're no threat.
But Winston, he craves something more. Something real. Some connection to the past.
He wants proof that the party's version of reality isn't all there is. And that leads him to those interesting encounters. The old man in the pub, clinging to vague memories of life before the revolution.
Top hats, if I'm remembering right.
Yes. Top hats. Such a small detail, but it represents a whole world that's been erased. And then there's Mr. Charrington, the owner of the junk shop.
With the antique shop, right? Where Winston buys that diary. I always love that setting.
It's like a little pocket of the past, hidden in plain sight.
And that old rhyme he finds. Oranges and lemons to the bells of St. Clement's. It sparks something in him, like a forgotten memory.
These little glimmers of the past, they fuel his desire to break free, to find the truth. And then, of course, there's Julia.
Oh, Julia. That dark-haired woman he's convinced is following him, watching him for the thought police.
Talk about paranoia. But in that world, can you blame him?
It's what the party wants. Constant suspicion.
It keeps everyone isolated, terrified to trust anyone.
But as we'll see, Julia is not who Winston thinks she is. Not at all. It makes you wonder, in a world like that, full of suspicion, could Winston have even found any kind of peace, any connection, without taking a chance on someone like Julia?
That's the thing about rebellion in Oceania, isn't it? It's not just about defying the party, it's about trusting another human being when everything tells you not to.
And their relationship, wow, it moves fast, secret messages sneaking off to the countryside. They even managed to get real coffee, chocolate.
Little luxuries that become huge acts of rebellion in that world.
Every sip, every bite, it's like they're saying, screw you to the party.
And I love the contrast between them. Winston, he's driven to uncover the truth, to understand the why behind the party's control. He wants to tear the whole system down.
Well, Julia's more about living in the moment,
Right.
right? Finding those little pockets of freedom wherever she can.
Exactly. It's personal for her.
Yeah.
Pleasure is a form of resistance.
Makes you think, which is more effective? The head-on fight or the slow, steady chipping away at the foundation?
Such a great question. And both come with their own dangers.
But for a while, they find their escape. That room above Mr. Charrington's shop.
Their sanctuary.
A place where they can almost forget about Big Brother, the thought police, everything.
Almost.
But it can't last, can it?
No. Orwell masterfully builds the tension. Just when you think they might actually have a shot at real rebellion, at joining this rumored brotherhood.
The walls close in.
That moment when they're caught and it's revealed that Mr. Charrington, the kindly old shop owner,
Don't even remind me.
he's thought police all along.
Talk about a punch to the gut. I mean, it makes you realize in that world, you can never truly let your guard down. Not even for a second.
Trust is a dangerous thing in Oceania.
And what follows, I mean, it's almost unbearable to read.
Winston's torture in the Ministry of Love.
Right.
Orwell doesn't hold back.
The physical stuff is awful, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's the psychological manipulation that really gets under your skin.
Exactly. It's not enough for the party to punish dissent. They want to control the mind itself.
To make you believe anything, even if it means denying what your own eyes and ears are telling you.
2 + 2 = 5.
God, that line still gives me chills.
It's the ultimate expression of power, isn't it? To make someone believe the unbelievable.
And they're not above using whatever it takes to get there. Hence, Room 101.
Everyone has a breaking point.
And for Winston, it's rats. I can't even imagine the horror.
Pure primal fear.
And he breaks. He betrays Julia, begs them to torture her instead.
It's a testament to how effectively the party has destroyed his spirit.
He's a shell of his former self. Broken.
And it's a reminder of the human cost of totalitarianism, the way it crushes not just bodies, but souls.
It's tough to read, no question.
Mm.
But it makes you think, right? I mean, are there echoes of 1984 in our world today?
It's a question that continues to resonate, for sure.
We don't have telescreens, at least not yet.
Not in every living room, no.
But the way we're tracked,
God.
monitored,
The amount of data we generate every day is staggering. Our online activity, our movements, our purchases, it's all being collected, analyzed.
you're right. Targeted ads, those algorithms that seem to know us better than we know ourselves. It's like we're already living in some kind of digital panopticon.
The technology of surveillance has evolved in ways Orwell probably couldn't have imagined. But it's not just about the tech, is it?
Right.
Orwell also warned about the manipulation of language, how words can be twisted, used as weapons.
Like the whole fake news phenomenon. It's like truth itself has become fluid, open to interpretation.
And that's incredibly dangerous. When we lose faith in objective reality, it creates a void. And that void is easily filled by those who want to control the narrative.
So where does that leave us? I mean, what can we do? Are we just headed down this path towards some inevitable Orwellian future?
I don't think it's inevitable. Remember, Orwell wrote 1984 as a warning, not a prediction. He believed that by recognizing these dangers, we could actively resist them.
But how? It seems like such a massive thing to fight against. governments, corporations?
It starts with awareness, with each of us making a conscious effort to engage critically with the information we're bombarded with every day.
You mean not just accepting things at face value?
Exactly. Question everything. Seek out different perspectives. Understand that there's rarely a single truth to be found.
It's hard, though, isn't it? To break out of those echo chambers, where everyone around you is reinforcing the same beliefs.
It takes effort, a willingness to be challenged, to be uncomfortable, but it's essential if we want to avoid sleepwalking into a world where someone else is dictating our reality.
So what you're saying is 1984 is more than just a dystopian novel. It's a call to action.
Absolutely. It's a reminder to never take our freedom for granted, to fight for truth even when it's inconvenient, to never stop questioning.
And on that note, I think we'll leave our listeners to ponder the world of 1984 and what it means for us today.
It's a conversation that's more relevant now than ever, I think.
Until next time, keep those minds sharp and keep diving deep.